Hey, welcome back to the How to Podcast series with Dave, the guy from Canada who loves podcasting and loves podcasters so much that he created a show about it. There you go. And I'm glad you're here. First time here, welcome to the show. Glad to have you on the podcast with me. If you've been here forever, then again, welcome back. Amazing to have you returning as a listener to the show. I want to talk today a little bit about something I'm noticing in podcasting. It's been kind of percolating for a while, like a good cup of coffee percolating away in the background. And I'm getting some undertones in podcasting. And if you're new to podcasting, you might not even have picked up on this yet. But again, if you've been around for a while, you might already have been experiencing this. So again, whether you've seen it, heard it or not, put your radar up and filter what you're seeing and hearing in podcasting through this lens, just so that you have a clear picture of what's happening in podcasting. What am I talking about? Well, it's around elitism in podcasting. Now, what the heck is elitism? Someone who's an elitist would be someone who has this offensive air around them. And if your radar's up and you're aware of this, it shows up pretty obvious when somebody doesn't come from a place of humility and service and care and concern in community. And they come off as like the country club version, if you belong to a country club, I'm sorry, but the country club version of podcasting, where there's inner circle of people who have been doing it forever, and we recognize that without them we wouldn't be here, but this inner circle that keeps others out. And it shows in many different ways. It can show up in things like a top 10 list. Okay, so the top 10 children's story podcasts. Okay, so for an example. What you'll see on some of these elite lists are the same recycled shows over and over and over and over again. Some of these shows are not even active anymore. They haven't been active in years. Yet they're a part of a group. And for us who are not part of groups, we're always on the outside looking in. So, podcasts about podcasting. This show, I haven't seen it on any list of any kind. But I can see other podcasts about podcasting that are completely dead. Like the host doesn't even do them anymore. It's been years and years and years. They've built up equity over the years where people just know of that show. That's the advantage. But this show, for example, has got over 500, 600 episodes, not on any list. Completely fly under the radar. And nobody knows about this show from those lists. And will I ever get on those lists? Probably not, because I'm not close buddies with the people who make the lists. Unfortunately, I would love to be on the list, because then more people would know about the show. But then let's go back to the Appleseed as the default for my show. And if I can help one person with their podcast, then that's my goal. This elitism shows up at podcasting conferences. This elitism shows up as speakers for podcasting events. This elitism shows up in many, many different forms in content creation beyond podcasting. And for me, when I look at elitism in podcasting, it really manifests when content creators adopt kind of a condescending or dismissive attitude towards their own audience, which is counterproductive to growth, or to fellow podcasters, to the community at large. And they often use their platform to assert their authority and superiority. And they gatekeep their knowledge or exclude voices perceived as less credible or less influential. I had somebody on my author podcast, and they worked in medical and law, and they were saying that when somebody in the U.S. is where this author was joining me from, I'm in Canada. They said that when somebody gets injured, some of the care that that person receives is directly tied to what they do as their career and what they do for their living. So like a doctor, like a brain surgeon, for example, would get one type of care, and somebody who works at a fast food restaurant for minimum wage would get a different type of care. And this person was really wrestling with who has more value, and why does one group have more value than others, and why do some get better attention and better response time based on who they are and what they do. And I'm seeing that in podcasting, where there are people who have been podcasting and in this for a while, and they get zero recognition. I think of my friends in podcasting who are not like me, a white guy in his 50s, who have to fight for attention, fight for recognition, fight to be acknowledged, to get their voice shared. That's why I love podcasting, first of all, is that podcasting should be open for everyone, no matter who you are, where you're from. We need you in podcasting. There is a ton of people who look like me in podcasting. And I've always been the one to try to fight against that. And I know I'm coming from it from my point of view and my angle, but the people that I bring on this show and invite on as guest co-hosts, I want to represent podcasting as a whole. So I don't just talk to people like me. I don't just have people like me on the show. I want people who are different than me, who see the world differently, come from a different place, and can reach people that I could never reach. That's the beauty of podcasting. It's community-based. So here's some examples of elitism that I'm seeing in podcasting. Some of this really disturbs me, and I just wanted to, while it was in my mind, I wanted to kind of capture my thoughts and put it out there for you to consider. And if you're not experiencing this, then that's amazing. But if you are, I just want to highlight some of the things that I'm seeing, and I'm hoping that you and I can make a change and change this feeling of elitism in podcasting. So here's some examples of what I'm seeing for elitism in podcasting. I'm seeing some exclusion within the audience in podcasting, where some podcasters make their content deliberately assuming that listeners share their educational or cultural background. There's one podcast about podcasting, and the podcaster is super smart. Like, he knows all of the $5 words out there, and it's almost like he's rubbing his face, our faces in it, that we don't know what he's saying, and we have to pause to Google that word because, it's very highbrow and very thoughtful. I appreciate what he's doing, but his way of communicating really separates him from the audience and makes his audience super niche. Like, you got to know what that word was, because I don't know what that word is. And I feel in that moment, like, do I even belong here? I like what this person does, but I don't feel welcome. I feel like they are an elite. And in that moment, there's a gap created between me as a listener and them as a podcaster. I don't know if that gap's intentional. That's just who this person is. They're super smart, university educated. They just, they only use big words, but sometimes after a while you're like, really? Can we make that a little more simple and a little bit more open for people to engage with? I don't understand why your content's being gatekept through fancy $5 words. Like, way too many. I think when we alienate our audience, it reinforces notions of you as a podcaster are intellectually more exclusive than your audience. And it is our honor to have you in our life as a podcaster. I think it needs to be flipped around a little bit. It's our honor that people press play. And we need to do everything we can to not set up a wall between us and our audience. Maybe it's just in how we talk, how we present ourselves, how we are on the mic, how we are in person. An elitism demonstrated in person would be you at a podcasting event as a podcaster, and one of your listeners comes up to you and goes, "Oh my gosh, I love your show. It's so great to meet you." And the whole time you, as an elitist podcaster, are looking over their shoulder a little bit to the right or the left, just kind of, who's behind the person talking to me in the moment? And how can I go talk to them? Because they're important. This person is just a listener. See what I did there? Just a listener. But to you, as the podcaster, they admire your everything. And right there's a great example of someone being an elitist, where the person in front of you is not good enough for your attention, but the person behind them who has that show, and I want to talk to them, there's distance created in that moment. There's a condescending tone in some podcasting right now towards the audience and towards our fellow podcasters. Podcasters may use patronizing language, such as, "You probably don't understand this in the moment," or this is a really hard topic to talk about, and you're probably not going to get this the first time. I'm going to try to make this simple for you." Right? Even though we're not going to use these big fancy words to show off our intellectual prowess as a podcaster, we do the opposite, where we insult our audience and make them feel even more out of it just by saying, "You're not going to get this. So I'm going to try to make this, I'm going to simplify this. I'm going to dumb it down for you." See what I'm doing there? Wow. You're going to dumb it down for me. Well, that's so kind of you, because I guess I'm stupid. I don't know. But that feeling of, you're so much better than I am, and I'm so lucky to have you in my life, after a while it wanes on you. And as a frequent podcast listener, I'm hearing this undertone of superiority from podcasters. And I don't know if it's intentional. You might not even be doing it on purpose, but it's coming through your mic into my ears. And I just want to caution you that your audience is something you need to treasure, not something to crap on. You need to really build up these people who come to you on a regular basis. So don't dumb it down for us. And don't talk over our heads. Talk to us. We're real people. If you wouldn't say it around the dinner table with your family, your friends, your spouse, your date, then why are you saying it on the podcast? Why are you being something different on the mic than you are in real life? I want to be educated. I want to use good terminology. Good words matter. But I'm not just going to spray everything out that I know and make you feel like, is he even talking to me anymore? Don't be condescending. Don't talk down to your audience. Don't make them feel insignificant or that they don't belong. Over-explaining concepts and belittling their audience and their intelligence is really having a dramatic bad impact on your podcast listening audience. Dismissing your fellow creators as well. I don't understand why this is happening. In a competitive podcasting circles, it is competitive because there's only so many podcast episodes that people can listen to every week. So there is a finite amount of time. It's not infinite, People will only listen to a certain number of episodes. So in that, there is competition. There are a bunch of podcasts on your phone right now you haven't listened to that have been there for weeks, right? So there is competition in podcasting. Creators sometimes look down on more amateur, and you're going to hear hobbyist podcasters. You'll hear that so often from the professional podcasters, suggesting only podcasts backed by celebrities who have sponsorship and advertisements are successful and are worth listening to, worth being on that top 10 list. Rather than rebuilding up and fortifying the industry of podcasting to be inclusive, people are dismissing fellow creators for not meeting some arbitrary metric of success. And in that, I push back on that. There are amazing podcasters with super tiny audiences doing amazing things who will never catch the eye of a sponsor, who will never get on a top 10 list curated by people who love each other and only promote each other, right? They're not in the circles at podcasting conferences. They don't get invited to speak. They don't get invited to do anything. Yet they show up on the mic and serve their audience well. We need to stop dismissing our fellow podcasters en masse. And we need to build our community. And that's what I'm hoping to do with this show, is point out areas where we as a community can be better. And I don't understand this, but there are podcasters who openly mock their own listeners. Certain shows purposefully mock their audience, ridiculing them for being a member of the community with listening to the show. I don't get this. It's fostering really a toxic relationship between the host and the audience. Podcasting is supposed to be supportive, community-based, building others up, never tearing down. Do you openly mock your audience on your show? Do you make your audience feel like they don't belong? Maybe you are an elitist in podcasting, but maybe it's not too late to turn this around. How do we correct elitist waves in podcasting? To get rid of this elitist wave in podcasting, there's some things we can do. Promote more inclusivity. Actively encourage your listener to participate. Honor all voices from your audience and with your guests. Ensure your content is accessible and relevant to a wider spectrum of population and listeners. Avoid jargon and cultural references that exclude newcomers and people who are marginalized, people who don't feel like they fit in your audience. That's your responsibility. Promote inclusivity. Have people on your show as guests that you don't necessarily align with, agree with. Somebody with a different political view, someone with a different spiritual view, someone who would not be your typical go-to buddy. But have on voices that represent others who may be listening to your show. Do it and see what happens. Foster collaboration with podcasters. Instead of tearing down a fellow podcaster who doesn't meet your arbitrary measurement of success, build communities where podcasters of all experience levels are welcomed and given support, not judged by platform size or celebrity status. We have a thing called our meetup group for the How to Podcast series, and that is the intention of our group. You don't have to be a podcaster actively to be a participant in this group. You don't have to have 10 episodes. You don't have to have 100,000 downloads. None of that. It's a podcasting group focused on podcasting to build each other up. Some of the people in our group don't even have an episode yet. Some of them have been there for quite a long time and they still don't have an episode. But it's community. We foster collaboration with fellow podcasters in our meetup group. If you're not part of any kind of community of podcasters, what are you waiting for? We need you to come and join our meetup group and meet these amazing people. Create opportunities with your podcast, no matter what the topic it is that you have, to share and acknowledge generosity rather than gatekeeping. Your podcast needs to be a generous, welcoming place, not a place that keeps certain people out. We need to model constructive engagement as well. Instead of dismissing criticism or opposing opinions with a superior tone, an elitist tone, we need to engage respectively and use feedback as a basis for growth. We need to address their audience's questions with humility and gratitude for their interest, instead of coming off like Mr. or Mrs. Know-it-all. We need to challenge the expert-only mentality that exists in podcasting in some form or another. We need to encourage sharing of diverse stories by spotlighting new or unconventional podcasters. Advocate for access to platforms and resources, reinforcing the idea that everyone's story and voice matters in podcasting. It's something we need to do. And promote positive mindset within podcasting. We need to help build up people's confidence. We need to encourage each other and help them with their skill development as podcasters, not look down on somebody, not openly make fun of someone. There's podcasts that do that. They play a podcast and make fun of it like sport. And I'm like, why does this exist? Why are we giving this any attention at all and loving it and supporting it and promoting it when all these people are doing is mocking podcasters? Why is this a thing? And why are we enjoying this so much? It's like watching episode 1 of a first season or a new season of American Idol, where we just watch people get torn apart and we laugh and we giggle at people being ridiculed. Why is that so entertaining? I don't get it. We need more positivity in podcasting. Shifting focus from competition and hierarchy to growth and mutual support. That's what we need to break this elitism in podcasting. Some practical steps for you as a podcaster, for you and I. How do we do this? What are some practical things we can do in our next episode? Avoid language or behavior that inadvertently belittles or excludes an audience member. The words, the terminology, what you say, how you say it, your language or behavior might be pushing people away. So address it. Uplift your peers. Celebrate the diversity in podcasting and share collaborative opportunities. Bring someone else's podcast into your podcast. Promote each other. Talk about other podcasts on your show. Right? Do things that will bring people to podcasting instead of pushing people away. And stop building your own kingdom at the expense of building community en masse for podcasting. We're here to build up the entirety of podcasting, not just your own personal world. Create space for difficult conversations about privilege, about representation and accessibility in podcasting forums and within your own episodes. Listen actively to feedback from all segments of the community, not just the voices you like to hear, not just your inner circle, not just the established voices, the people who curate the top 10 or top 100 lists. taking these steps can really help to create this sense of elitism in podcasting and help us to foster a more healthier, more welcoming environment for you and I as creators and for our listeners. We're here to serve our community. So if you've been using elitist language or behavior, if you have been dismissing your audience, if you are doing things that make you look more important than you are, where maybe you're coming across as educated beyond your intelligence. I've heard people use that term, and I'm like, that stings a little. But are we doing that? Are we sitting here with our thesaurus open, looking for a better word for that word so that we can show off how talented we are with our linguistics ability? Is that what we're doing? Are we doing things that set up a wall between us and our audience? And how is that serving you right now? Maybe you could do better. Maybe I could do better. And when you see elitism in podcasting, call it out. And be an example of someone who builds community over, separates themselves from others as fellow podcasters and from listeners. We're here to serve. If your intention is to not serve, then my challenge for you is to see, is podcasting really your platform? Maybe there's something else that would work better for you. I'm not sure. And I'd love to hear your thoughts. Are you seeing elitism in podcasting at all? In Spotify, you can leave a comment for this episode. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And maybe we can make podcasting better, you and I, as we approach a more inclusive and open atmosphere within podcasting. Maybe we can do that, you and I together, one listener at a time. Thank you for being here. Thank you for pressing play. And we'll catch you on the next episode. Take care. Thank you so much for listening to the entirety of the episode, including this part. You know what? A lot of people leave right now. So we'll let them leave. Give them a second to go. Okay, now it's just you and me. We have our meetups that we do for the How to Podcast series. We do them during the week, and we also do them on Saturdays. So twice a week, you have the opportunity to meet other podcasters, just like you. Some people have just started. Some people haven't even released an episode yet. Some have been doing it forever. And we get together and talk podcasting. We want to help you in community to continue with your show, to start your show, to grow your show. So come and meet listeners of this show in one space on meetup.com. Again, through howtopodcast.ca, you'll see the links. It's completely free to join. Come whenever you have an opportunity to come. There's no commitment. You don't have to sign any waivers. You can just come join us. Come join the conversation. We'd love to have you there, because the only thing that's going to make these meetups better is you being there. So I'm hoping you will say yes. And you'll say, Dave, I'm tired of podcasting by myself. I wish there were people I could connect with that are fellow podcasters and share my frustrations with guests who ghost me, and my editing software is crapping out on me, and I'm just having this hard time. I'm just having a hard time coming up with podcasts, episodes, and titles, and all the things, and social media. Wouldn't it be great to get in a room with other podcasters and share best practices and learn? 3 of our 4 Saturdays every month are themed. So you have a topic, but that last Saturday of every month, it's open question and answer. Ask anything. Come meet a podcaster. Come enjoy the podcasting community through howtopodcast.ca. Come to our meetups. Can't wait to see you there.